Welcome to Shadow of the Nerdtree. I'm
Welcome, nerds.
Samson Lancaster, and I got this other bearded fellow here, a much larger beard than mine, but a much younger one, I think.
Less young in person than over the interwebs, but yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, this is officially
Oh,
also Shadow of the Beard Games. Maybe I don't know,
that works for
but
me. Shadow of the Beard Tree?
Shadow of the Bird Beard Tree Nerd Tree.
No, no,
I
no. We
like the
make it
notion of
Shadow of
Nerd
the
Tree.
Tree Beard.
Tree
Shadow of the Tree Beard. Then we bring in the Lord of the Rings aspect.
Man, now it's getting all crazy. I don't want to get too crazy with that, but Devin, motherfucking Steele is
Welcome,
back
fellow
here,
Tarnished.
and us tarnished here, us Elden Lords. Let's face it, because this is
Yes,
Shadow of
indeed.
the Nerd Tree. We're all Elden Lords at this point.
Probably
Um,
multiple times over.
yeah, for you at least. like you really like doing lots of playthroughs. But yeah, so this little mini series here on Strength and Gaming, we're going to be talking about Shadow of the Erdtree, the DLC for Elden Ring, and it's near and dear to both of our hearts as Souls former Souls tubers and Souls born uh, fans, possibly fanatics. I don't know. um yeah, just a little bit. I still need
Definitely.
to get some soul dark souls tattoo, and I'm working on. I still need to figure that out. I don't have any video game tattoos yet. I have all the other tattoos I had before then. You have a bunch of video game tattoos, so
But none from
um
Souls yet.
none from souls. Maybe we got to get them together.
Maybe so.
And
Because
we
I
gotta
definitely
get
have to fix that.
yeah, it's something that needs to be fixed. I feel like I want the invasion symbol on my wrist.
But which one?
Which one? Which invasion symbol? I mean, they're all
Probably the red eye orb, right?
pretty.
From Dark Souls.
Yeah, they're all pretty similar. Yeah, the I would say Dark Souls. Either uh, you know,
Because in Bloodborne, it's a
one,
bell.
two, or three. No, no, not Bloodborne. It has to absolutely be the Darks. I don't get me wrong. I love Bloodborne. That's what
Not
got
far.
me into the Souls. But no, but it has to be the red language, like little symbol, the invasion symbol. I feel like that would be perfect. Um, and I've also been toying with the ideas of like the bonfires and stuff like that. I mean, Bloodborne could be its own thing, right? You know, like you get like a squid. You know, welcome home, good hunter.
Yeah. That would
But
be pretty great, actually.
yeah, so like there's gonna be a lot of Souls talk, I think, but we're gonna try as best as we can to focus on Shadow of the Erdtree, and
I think for the
I
most
think
part, if we
yeah.
talk about souls, it'll be like as reference to a point we're trying
Yeah,
to make.
absolutely. Because we're gonna like if when I'm talking about one of the things I want to talk about today is invasions and Shadow of the Erdtree specifically, and that will definitely will be compared to other Souls games because it just will.
It has
That's
to be.
just it has to be. Um, but I think first maybe we'll talk a little bit about summoning and multiplayer in general. If you wanna lead us into that, Devin.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of this is kind of tired and old for those of us that have been in the community for a while. So I think we'll
We
probably
are
just
tired
kind
and
of,
old.
yeah, we'll gloss over it a little bit. But pretty much every game, somebody on the internet gets mad thinking that summoning of any kind is cheating or less legitimate. You got to solo every boss and that kind of mentality. And it's back again. It's
Well, I
kind of
mean,
one of
you
those things we
do,
just deal with every
obviously.
time. But
I,
right.
I,
No, and
I summoned some multiplayer phantoms for one of the bosses in the game, and it
it's funny.
wasn't
I
necessary, but
I
I
actually
did it.
would have agreed with that mindset in earlier games. Elden Ring is kind of the first one that I'm like, something is kind of
Yeah,
built into the scaling at this point
yeah, and I
because
leaned in heavy with the mimic tier because it's just so cool to have a clone of yourself that has 10 times or more hit points than you.
yeah, it's godlike.
And yeah, it's insane. And
And
it still does, like, I mean, you don't win every battle when you summon them. You know, there's
no, of course not. But that's part of the thing is like the whole
I like
Spirit Ash system is built into the game, and the game is balanced around the fact that
yes.
you're probably summoning something to
Yeah.
reduce aggro. So because of that, the bosses all have such outrageous aggro that You can beat them solo. 100% you can do it. Nerds don't come for me. It can be done. But, you basically have to memorize the full pattern and make one mistake at most, which some people like
Yep.
to do. And hey, cool, play the game that way and have fun. But
also
I would not
too,
find that fun.
when you do summon a mimic tier, for example, the boss becomes stronger. I
Yes.
believe at least hit points. There might you could confirm maybe if there's any sort of damage or defensive buffs, but I know they have more hit points when I summon something.
They definitely have more hit points, and the amount of hit points they get scales proportionally depending on what you're coming in with. So
Okay.
if you come in and summon, say, Mimic tier, it goes up a certain amount. If you come in with a human player, it comes in with a different amount. If you come in with two human players, it's a higher amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Which
it
that would
scales
say
to
that
try
too,
to
though. With
pace.
Elden Ring, it's only 2 phantoms, right?
I think
Max?
2's the highest.
Yeah,
I believe
because
so.
in fucking Dark Souls 3,
The most bananas
back in the
game that existed.
good days of Invasion.
That game had the best invasions.
Sorry.
To me.
For
Point blank.
for across our fellows across the pond. 3. But yeah, and I saw a lot about that too with some of my favorite YouTubers that I follow, YouTubers that just talk about stuff like gaming news and stuff like that. And yeah, people are giving to it's easy mode if you summon people, or if you use in the
Magic
DLC
builds
specifically,
is a big one.
magic builds. Yes, well, yes.
Which used to be true.
The onion, it used to be true, and it's something. But what's funny, actually, I think is strength build is pretty fucking strong in the DLC, because
Yes, it
the
is.
onion, the Raging Red Onion, is a strength build, and he's pretty freaking powerful, especially when I can double myself on any given boss, and then summon one of the stupid NPC phantoms that have like 10 million hit points. Like what's
Those things can take a beating.
Like,
So
why do they
my
have they don't do a lot of damage, but they have a ton of hit points.
Yeah, which really is what they're there for, is to soak up aggro so you can sneak
Mhm.
in heals. They're not really there to do damage. You can do damage yourself. But
Yeah.
I'm actually, it's funny, our builds are pretty comparable. I'm using the gut styled greatsword, not named anything, just the OG greatsword
The
that's been in
great
every
sword.
game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I use that and a great shield and just big tank boy.
Yeah.
And yeah, if me and Mimic both double hand, a lot of bosses can't do anything because it just gets stagger locked.
Yeah. That's what I do with the onion. But instead of using like a big great shield, I use the turtle shield because stamina, and then just
Stamina.
always two hand everything. And in this case, like you said, the great sword I'm using right now. And I played most of the game with the large club, because the great club is not the same as the one from Dark Souls 3. It is a much different move set, and it's one of those like legendary magic type weapons that only go up to +10, right?
Mm,
Whereas the large club goes up to +25 because it's a standard weapon, and then also you can add the heavy to it and in my case I use the butt smash. What the fuck is it called? I don't know the actual name, but
I think it should just be renamed the butt smash.
it should be called the butt smash, because
It's what it is.
it makes your weapon gives it the heavy type, so scaling on the large club, which is what I use for a long time, goes just straight to A, and
Makes it thick.
and it goes and you go straight to them with your A right on their fucking head. Like, it is a devastating attack. So one of the things that I've built into the Raging Red Onion, who I did do some Souls tuber, I did some YouTube videos for Elden Ring, but then I kind of stopped because it's not the same invasion wise. But
Boy, is it
we'll
not.
get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit here. But I did recently switch to the Great Sword because for invasions it is fucking superior. I haven't found it, but because you're always dealing with 3v1.
It has a really
And
good move set, really
it's
good
an
reach.
amazing move. In fact, the move set is very similar to the Great Club from Dark Souls 3. Those swooping attacks that hit all the way back behind you and in front. Like that's
Yeah,
the
buddy.
biggest thing. That's what the onion was made for. And they didn't really The large club in Elden Ring is not as powerful as the great club in Dark Souls 3, and the great club in Elden Ring is a completely different move set, much shorter range. It its ultimate attack is utter fucking garbage, and it's not a pure strength weapon. It's a strength weapon first, and then a faith weapon second. And the great club in Elden Ring is just I tried it, and I maxed it out, and I tried, because not at this point, after you've beaten the game and doing the DLC, it's pretty easy to max out weapons,
Oh yeah.
like that. You just boom, I want to try this new weapon, and that's what I did with the great sword, which definitely I feel like
You can at least
it's not a shillelagh, and but it has it's a really it's still kind of a big bonk kind of a weapon.
it's not shillelagh and it's not purple.
Yeah, it's not purple because you don't have anything to you don't have the shadow coatings in this game. But also too, like, I feel like I haven't been really using anything like that, because like, you can, right? Like with the greatsword, you can use a coating, but the problem I have with that, which I'll get to in Invasions, is like it's a complete waste. You'd have to do a lot of farming, because like it's either a complete waste, or like you have to like wait to a certain point in each and every invasion to use it, and then it might still be a waste, because but anyways, summoning phantoms, back to summoning phantoms. I didn't do it a lot for multiplayer. I haven't really done a whole lot of that. I did it once on Mesmer, the Impaler, and I should say once. I should say I used invade it to beat that boss, because it did still take a few tries.
Well,
Because
sure.
it's one of those things. Like I feel like
It's the guy on the cover art. It's going to be
yeah,
quite a
yeah.
fight. Like, you know that going in.
It's a tough fight, and but that I don't typically I don't like, because I feel like there are a lot of people that just summon phantoms for every fight, or if you're in the other games like Dark Souls 3, summon them for areas, right? Because you can't really
Mhm.
that's not really, I mean, you can still do it. I guess yeah, no, you can do it anywhere in Elden Ring, but the problem with that is well, it's not a problem, I should say. The difference between Dark Souls and Elden Ring is how massively fucking huge the areas are. They're
Yeah.
insanely large. But yeah, is there something else you want to talk about as far as like summoning phantoms are concerned?
Not too much. I'll just say also for my part, like, I don't summon other human players, because when I know that I'm not going to be doing PvP, and for this game I realized pretty early that I wasn't going to be participating in invasions. Once I
Yeah,
decide that, then it's like, okay, well, there's no reason for me to level cap it at a meta. So if I got souls for a level, I'll level. So I'm,
yeah.
something like
So
level
what level
230 or
are you then?
240.
Oh wow, Jesus Christ! Yeah, I'm like
Yeah,
160.
because I played through all of New Game and all of New Game Plus, doing every area a second time.
Oh, okay.
So
So you did New Game Plus, and then you went to the DLC. And so when you
yeah,
do the DLC, are you in New Game Plus DLC, or are you just in DLC?
typically yes.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I
But
this
still,
one might be different though, because of the
the
I know
Shadow
it's
Tree
not,
fragments,
as I say, I know it's not pronounced skidoo tree, but it's too
the
hilarious to say
Skidoo,
skidoo.
the
It's
Skidoo
too funny
tree,
not to say it that
the
way.
22 Skidoo
Um,
free from fragments.
yeah, so with those fragments though, I don't know if they really need to do a new game structuring on difficulty, because it just depends on how many of those you have. That might have been their
Yeah,
way to get around that partially. So I don't actually know if the difficulty is normal or new game plus,
yeah, and that was another thing
but
too that, speaking to like the things that people complain about when it comes to multiplayer and getting good, and it's too easy or
things that
it's too
are
hard.
built into the game and intended as cheating.
Yeah, exactly, those things. I remember playing, so just a real quick, I remember playing Dark Souls 2 and accidentally turning on hard mode
I remember
for
that
a
happening to
very
you.
long time, and I was like, man, this game is really fucking hard, but I'm
This shit
plowing through.
escalated.
and then something we were like talking about it, and then he was like, "Did you do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did that." And he was like, "Oh." You were like,
Oops.
"Oh, you turned on the extra hard mode." What? It's like, what?
Yes,
Who
this is
didn't
like the
need an
opposite of
extra
that.
hard mode? It's Dark Souls 2 of all things. That's probably one of the hardest ones. Even
Yeah,
without
well,
it.
I mean, all of the games have either an item or a covenant that makes the game harder
True.
because
Yeah,
Miyazaki knows.
Sekiro has that too.
Yeah, Miyazaki knows. The whole team knows that there's a very devoted subset of gamers that come to these games because they want the challenge, because they're
Yeah.
known to be hard games and they want it to be as hard as possible. So every game's usually got an item that like makes enemies aggro from further, or they're more aggressive,
Hmm.
or
But they
more
also tend
health
to give
or
you
damage or
more
whatever.
whatever the resources are in the game, souls or
Yeah.
runes or blood or whatever.
For me, by
Um,
the way, it is literally always souls.
yeah, I
It
know.
was
I
it
was
was
before we started this. I was like, I have to fucking remember it's runes. It's
yeah, it was
runes.
I'm sorry, man. It was 3 games of Souls before we got anything that wasn't Souls.
Yeah,
So
it's souls. It's because it's the
what
same mechanic. It is the
what would you
same
what do you get
mechanic.
in Sekiro? Souls.
Souls,
What do you get
souls,
in Bloodborne? Blood Souls? I don't know.
souls, bloody souls, red souls. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Souls.
all Souls to me.
But yeah, I think speaking of souls, so one of the things I think with the whole multiplayer thing that is that a lot of people, and I don't, I'm trying to understand this like legitimately because I feel like Elden Ring, the base game, was to a certain extent easier than most Souls games. Because progression is different and it's just a little bit more forgiving in some senses. Um,
Yeah.
and there wasn't any and that plus being having a big name, George R. R. Martin attached with Miyazaki and FromSoft and Bamco, and I that plus that it's just you can still make it really hard, but there's an option to make it a little bit more, for normies. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what made it so popular, and I'm grateful for that. That's awesome that that happened and that it did that. But I don't I don't feel that the DLC is as hard as everybody says it is, but that could be a bias because we are Souls players. We were we were born of the blood, we were made men by the blood, we were undone by the blood, and now all of the Souls games that we played, and I could see maybe like looking at some of the bosses, like the area mini bosses, even though they're the largest fucking thing in the game, like the furnace golems, um like those feel very Souls to me. Like those are like 100% ridiculous boss, but not like too ridiculous because they have the same pattern pretty much with a few
Mhm.
variations, but they're stronger in different areas. But like if you fuck, like you said, if you fuck up once, you're dead. Like just,
Yeah.
if your horse
Eh,
doesn't jump the second time, you're dead. Like it's
yeah.
like,
I think I figured it out. I
oh
was actually
yeah.
talking to my sister-in-law about it, who she's only
Your
played
sister-in-law plays Souls games?
only Elden Ring.
Mm,
She hasn't played any of the other ones, but she played Elden
that's
Ring, and we were
perfectly
just kind of
valid.
talking about the difficulty. And as I was thinking about our conversations and thinking back on prior games, I thought, you know what I think is different about the Shadow of the Nerdtree DLC
Shadow of the
is
Erdtree.
the bosses aren't harder. In fact, I think this game overall is probably one of the easier Souls games
Oh, it
in
is
terms of like
absolutely.
boss patterns, in terms of boss
And that's not an
speeds.
insult, but that's not an insult
No, no,
because it's
not at all.
also 10 times the size of every Souls game. So it's
Yeah, well, and it also, I mean,
it's
by bringing the whole Spirit Ash contingency, you're basing the game to some extent around having a party not being on your own is kind of intended. So that just kind of changes the focus right off the bat. But what that means is what I started noticing going through the Shadow of the Nerd Tree DLC is that literally every single boss that I've encountered has at least one combo that if the first hit hits you, you are trapped for the full combo and it will kill you.
yeah.
And I have 50 vitality. and
Yeah,
really heavy armor because I'm
or
high level.
the just
So
if you get caught by the one instant kill thing that where they like grab you and fucking eat you or whatever.
right. But see, when I was thinking back to prior Souls games, there is usually a boss or two that has that going
Something like
for it,
that.
but
Yeah.
it's not as frequent. Like
Sekiro, everything has it,
I
not
think
just
about
bosses. Everything
well,
in Sekiro has the instant kill. Fucking run.
that is that is true. But in like I was thinking back to Bloodborne specifically, because like one of
Okay.
the hardest bosses for me, well, probably two of the hardest bosses are both from the Bloodborne DLC. I struggled mightily with Ludwig, and I
Ludwig.
struggled mightily with Orphan of Cause.
Hmm.
And it's because both of them have like these little well, even sorry, talking about them separately because they're not the same boss. But like even Ludwig, I had a really hard time with Ludwig, and it's because it's a very fast-paced fight. He does a lot of damage, and
Well,
he's very
Ludwig's a
aggressive.
mini boss.
But no, he's a proper boss.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, full health bar and everything
Oh, okay.
in the DLC.
Oh, no, sorry. I
But
didn't play the DLC for Bloodborne. That's right.
oh, I can't believe you didn't play the DLC for Bloodborne. Oh my god. Okay, anyway, that aside, but he doesn't have any combo that's going to take you out in one go. You have plenty of opportunities to back off and heal as long as you know the timing of his aggressiveness so that you can make the space.
Mhm.
But in Shadow of the Erdtree or Nerdtree, I just feel like every boss has at least one full combo that you can't escape, at least one, command grab that's instant death, and a lot of them have multiple.
Yes.
And especially if you get to them at a pace where FromSoft thought you would have more tree fragments by then,
Mm-hmm.
because then they're scaled up. So,
Yeah.
like for example, when we're gonna switch to talking about this. I should have waited until you brought it up so that I didn't then forget the name of the place. But the divine lion dancing main lion dance
The
man.
divine, the divine beast dancing lion boss in Bellurat
Yes.
Tower Settlement. I wrote it
So
down.
that boss I got to. And I almost beat it my first try. I did something stupid and died, and then immediately beat it second try. I was like, wow, this boss is incredibly easy. Like, why is such an easy boss at the halfway point of the game?
It's
Only
what
then to find out my
everybody-
pathing was bizarre, and
Yeah.
most people got there towards the beginning.
he was the first proper boss that I fought, and it still only took like 4 or 5 tries because I didn't have any shadow tree fragments, or I may have had very small amount of them. But yeah, but that also speaks to the fact that you were at the point where you were leveled, we'll say, a bit past it, and you still died the
Yeah.
first try because it's Dark Souls.
Yeah,
like
100%.
the boss could still kill you even if you are really strong. If you F
Nothing
up
is ever
once.
safe.
No, nothing is safe. That's one of the reasons I like the Dark Souls games, like you said earlier about the challenges. Speaking of challenges, as everybody knows by now, maybe they don't, because a lot of these people don't understand that there is PvP in Elden Ring.
Yeah, because anyone
but-
who's not looking for it may never see it.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true. Like you, for example, you only know because you've played every other Souls game.
Right.
But like if you came in and this was your first game and you intended to play it the way you play it now, you'd never see an invader. Because Elden
Except for
Ring
NPCs.
really, really fucked invaders, like to the point where like you could basically only invade people that have summoned phantoms and have specifically set it up so that they can be invaded, because I'm pretty sure you can set it up because I've encountered a very small amount out of the hundreds of invasions, thousands at this point if you count the original base game that I've done. It's very few that I run into a singular host to have an actual just like a duel type fight. Very
Well, and
rare.
actually, in order for that to even happen, the hosts would have had to send their phantom home, or the phantom would have died after you'd already been summoned, because you actually can't invade solo hosts. To my knowledge, it's turned off for solos.
So
They have to have at least one summon. Normally, they have 2.
So, but okay, out of I would say, so for as far as invasions are concerned and invading is concerned, at the very least for the statistics that I can give you, some guesswork, but some because I haven't been writing a whole lot of things down, but I can tell you that I've farmed at least 100 uh, rune arcs through invading. Now you're like, oh, so you did like 100 invasions? No, no, absolutely
No,
fucking not.
no.
No. In order to get that many, you have to do it. It's at least in a 1 in 10. I feel like for someone that is decent at the invasions, which that's all I'm gonna claim. I'm decent. I have experience with invading as a Raging Red Onion. I feel like it's a 1 in 10 chance that you'll actually get a spirit arc. It might be worse than that.
I
Because
would imagine it's worse.
yeah, it probably is worse because at least half the time or more, I would say 50 to 75% of the time when I invade somebody, they're leaving into the boss mist or whatever.
Yeah.
Because typically you can't really get invasions places that aren't near a boss. It's not as easy, and it's not worth it. So like one of the things I said earlier about the places being so huge is like since we've already got this huge disadvantage to invaders, and that is that essentially 90% of the time when you come into a fight, an actual fight that where they're willing to fight you, or you catch them off guard or whatever, it's gonna be 3 versus 1. And and these phantoms are gonna be fucking ridiculously powerful. Like they almost always are stupid powerful. Like I half the time I'm like, are you cheating? Because that's not how did you do that? But the game is already kind of stacked against invaders in that almost every invasion that you're going to go into, it's going to feel like they're cheating. And that's why I think it's funny when they all teabag you after they kill you. It's like, dude, like
give the other side a try.
Yeah, try come to my side of things. But that all
that's
being
fight too.
said,
So I just wanted to point out. So I did invade. I did either 3 invasions or 5 invasions because when the base game released, so this is in the base game, not in the DLC. When the base game released,
the disposable
there was
fingers.
Yeah, because there was an NPC named Vare whose quest line could only be completed if you did a certain number of invasions. It was either 3 or 5. It was a very small number.
One single use bloody fingers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I did those 3, and I did them back to back. The game was very alive then because the game had just released, so it was quick to get in. But all 3 times I invaded a host with 2 phantoms that were, the trio was set up for a gank. It's what they were there to do. The 2 phantoms were hiding with one-shot builds all 3 times, and it was different people each time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I invaded the same host and they were running this thing, because that happened in Dark Souls all the time. That's just fun. That's just a good time.
Yeah. No, like in Dark Souls 3, it was 4 versus 1 most of the time.
Oh yeah, you should go to Gank City.
Yeah, Gank City too. Gank City was fun because that was where just like people would typically just do like a PvP arena where they would pit you against their phantoms that they summoned, and they were typically pretty honorable about that. There's no fucking honor in Elden Ring except for like 1 or 2 fucking chads that I've met in the thousands of invasions that I've done throughout the game. But that being said, 100 rune arcs farmed in the DLC alone, I think that qualifies me enough to say that they really fucked invaders more with the DLC. Like it became even worse. There were a couple of bugs. I want to get those out of the way really quick.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call it the Bellerat tree bug. In the Bellerat Tower settlement, right outside the Divine Beast Dancing Lion boss, it's a good place to invade because it's a boss and it's very fast. You get very fast invasions.
And it's a required boss too.
It's a required boss. There's always going to be people there as long as you're within the meta. I was around 150 to 160 depending on where I was in the invasion. This time, I think when I started this, it was like at like 150. I stayed pretty low, and I didn't do the New Game Plus because I wanted to stay closer to the meta for invasions, because that's
Mhm.
typically what I really like to do. But the tree bug, I would say about 50% of the time when I would summon in from that point, that grace, uh, what are they called? Site of grace.
Mhm.
Yeah, from that particular site of grace, right outside the boss lair, or the one really close to it, right before it. Um, 50% of the time, I would end up inside of a large tree right outside the boss. And when I say inside of, I can't move. I can't even attack because I hit the fucking tree. Like
That's amazing.
there's nothing you can do except invaders get three. And this is it's almost a cop out. I feel like maybe a little bit because there's like some specific invasion areas that you start at depending on where they're at, especially in the smaller areas. And this is a smaller area because it's like an indoor outdoor. It's like it's a dungeony type area, right? But like a
Mhm.
main dungeon, not like a side quest dungeon. And you end up inside this tree, and the only thing you can do is either leave. You can sever the connection with the severed finger deal and just leave, provided they're not right there, ready to kill you. That is, but you can also use your phantom bloody finger. So the bloody finger is the permanent invasion. I think we talked about it before the show or at some point in our chat. There's a lot to do that I'm not going to get into. Maybe that could be a different episode of how to get even to invade. Not that anybody wants to, so no one's going to watch that or listen to that. Um, but the bloody finger is the like one of the permanent invasion ones, you know, and not single use, but the phantom bloody finger. For those that don't know, when you're an invader and you end up, I don't know, on the other side of a fucking gorge. And it's like, I'm not going to spend 20 minutes trying to get to the host because they're either going to go into a battle or I'm just wasting my time. You pop the phantom finger, you get 3 of them per invasion, and it teleports you to someplace else. Most of the time, it teleports you right back to the same fucking area. And it's like a
Wait.
good,
Please tell me that you use this item in the tree and
and
warp
went
to still
right
be in
back
the
into the
tree.
tree 3 fucking times.
That's
But
amazing.
overall, I will say this: it's like a 75% chance you're gonna end up back in that tree if that's where you started. Um, and it's a terrible bug because you can't even do anything. Like there's nothing you can do. Um, and then the other bug, which was really annoying at first, and I feel like it started to maybe work itself out, or maybe it was specific to certain areas, because I I will say right now the places that I invaded the most were this in the specimen storehouse just before Mesmer, and recently I did invade before Radan. What's his name? The
General Radon.
yeah, but it's like it's the one where he's got well, the second form. I don't want to spoil things too much.
Oh, in the DLC specific name.
Yes, the DLC specific name. And so
I haven't
there's
gone there, so I don't remember.
yeah. So
Like,
there's a pretty powerful version of him that you fight, and right outside there's these really large steps. And I invaded there just like every time I beat a boss, I tend to invade near there
mm,
because I know there's going to be a good chance that there'll be something going on, and then I get to kind of gauge how those work, what what phantoms people are summoning, things like that. Um, and before all of that, and especially in the original, I did a lot of invasions in the very open areas, like you would call them like overlandy map type areas. And those
mhm.
invasions, they can be fun sometimes, but half the time, if you do get a what I would consider a good invasion, which of course is like where there's like an actual like good fight, or I mean, I will also consider just reverse ganking. Like if dude's AFK and I kill him, I mean, more power to me, right? I get the arc and I ruin his day and it doesn't matter. But a lot of them end up with just like chasing the host all over the fucking place, and it feels like a waste of time. And I'm like, this is dumb. And then you might be able to kill them at the end, or they might disconnect, which is more rare in Elden Ring. I have not seen as many disconnects, but I have seen disconnects.
Because
because I
boy,
was
was that
good enough
common
in
in
invasion
DS3.
ones. Yeah, it was super common in
That was like the
DS3
go-to move.
because in DS3 there were areas where you could invade and you couldn't leave, right? Like you had to face the invader
Hmm.
before you could leave, which I miss. They don't have that in Elden Ring, and anybody can just enter the boss and immediately ends the invasion, which again is another big fuck you to invasions. Thanks, Miyazaki. Um, but the inappropriate activity detected bug. Now,
Uh,
I kid you not, I would just invade back to back because that's what I do. I would find a place,
yeah.
get to a new place, explore, find a new place, invade. Oh, the host entered a boss battle, invade. Host entered a boss battle, invade. Host disconnected, invade. Oh, finally, there's somebody to fight. I die because they all instantly stun lock me and they all built like one shot builds or stun lock builds, or there's so much bullshit fucking magic spam on the screen. I can't even see what's going on. Like, um, and to give you an idea, the onion, the build that I use, the Raging Red Onion, obviously he looks like the Onion Knight, as best I could do. I think with like Lionel's set, a pumpkin helmet, and
Mm.
that's the base I think for that. And now, I was in the DLC. I was sort of like just not feeling it at first, as you recall, but then I switched to the Great Sword, and I was like, oh, okay, now I understand. We can get a little because like, you got to, as an invader, you have to be able to fight 3v1. Like it's not like
Yeah.
it's 90% of the time that when you actually get to fight somebody, which is a very small amount as well, like it's like a 25% chance that you actually get to have a fight, whether you can call getting ganked a fight or not. But the inappropriate activity
Depends on how
bug,
good you are.
yeah, back to back. Uh, Shut your face. You get good.
See, I can say that
You
because
don't
I'm not
even
doing
invade.
invasion,
You're
so
not doing invasion. So the
you
inappropriate
can't say
activity
I'm bad if
detected.
I don't participate.
Yeah, yeah. I can go by past invasions, and you're unfortunately formidable. Um, but the inappropriate activity detected bug was something where like I immediately when it happened for the first time, I was like going into another invasion, or I went into an invasion and I said inappropriate activity detected. You've been logged off and you're not allowed to be online. And I was like, fuck, did I just get banned? It's not something that ever happened in the original game. And I remember yelling to you like, fuck, I think I got banned. Wasn't even doing anything
Yeah.
except, I mean, I was invading really fast, like back to like as soon as I got booted out, I would invade immediately again. Um, but if I and this is the part that was annoying. In order for that to clear, I had to completely exit the game and then open the game again,
Ugh.
and then it would work every time. Otherwise, I would have to play offline mode, which is fine if I just want to play the game, but not if I'm invading. It's completely useless. I can't invade in offline mode. So the inappropriate activity detected bug. At first, maybe thought I was getting banned, but I think it obviously was just some kind of a bug because if I was being reported at any point, first of all, it wasn't happening like after a really good invasion, right? Like if I beat the living
Yeah.
snot out of people like 3 times in a row and got reported for cheating, that would make sense, but that was absolutely not what was happening. It would
Yeah.
just be like
Also,
random.
like in order to get banned for cheating 9 times out of 10, there is the random like 1 out of 10 where somebody does something totally innocent and the system flags them by accident. It
Mhm.
does happen sometimes, but the vast majority of the time it's people using cheat engine
Yeah,
because FromSoft knows to look out for that and
yeah,
other, like types of hacking software and shit like that because that's a security concern for them. Like honestly, I think really if it was just that uh people could like hack the game to be goofy, FromSoft probably wouldn't even do anything about it. But it's the capability to like crash other people's games, fuck with their servers, shit like that, that they crack down. But
yeah,
literally, that's
absolutely.
all they care about. So like, because there's this thing with other online games, and most people that play anything PvP related will obviously know this. This is no news to them. But for other like generally solo gamers like myself who may not know, most games have code of conduct requirements.
Yeah.
Like you're not allowed to mistreat other people in the game. You're not allowed to behave in certain ways.
Yeah,
Like
you
even when we
can't
used to play,
use hate speech. Although there's no in-game um chats or anything. So
no, although hilariously, that's why in Dark Souls 3, Miyazaki decided to just straight ban the letters N, I, and G in succession because people kept changing it to get around whatever filter you use. He was like, those three words or those three letters are just not allowed anymore. So anytime you encountered a knight in DS3, it was always got the stars in the name. But
it's
anyway,
the
like,
same thing. Yeah, I can see a lot of stars, and I'm like, wait, what? What bad word is that? I don't get it.
but yeah, but like, so even in the game, because the first time I encountered it was when we used to play Dead by Daylight, and there are lots of rules. Like, obviously, in the
Bippity.
post game chat, there are things you can't say, but like, even in game, there's certain behaviors that can get you banned that are just viewed as like bad behavior. It's like Dark Souls doesn't have anything like that. You can. We used to throw dung pies at people in Dark
Yeah,
Souls. Teabagging's always been a
tea
thing,
bags, dung
So
pie,
there's nothing you can
point
get banned
down.
for.
Yeah, for that kind of stuff, you can't get banned. But yeah, I like to be cheeky during invasions too. So I have like the hello thing is like hello,
Hello.
um, or whatever, or like apologies.
That's
I
a good
wish they
one.
weren't so low because it's hard for me to hear them. Like when you get an arc, it makes that really loud, like loud fucking noise, and it takes up half the fucking screen. So like if I'm so like that was one of the reasons why I haven't done a whole lot of um content for like the Raging Red Onion because like I can't even point down and record it after killing somebody because my entire from like the mid part of the onion helmet or the pumpkin in this case down to like his knees is completely covered by that stupid you gained a rune arc, you beat the host or whatever. So when I'm pointing down you can't see anything, and if I'm doing like hello or apologies, you can't even fucking hear it because it's like really loud. And it's like,
Yeah, it's
and the
annoying.
other thing too that's kind of annoying that I kind of get used to it is there's invasion music now. And
Oh,
that's not specific to the DLC. That's Elden Ring. So like,
I
and
didn't know that.
it only triggers when you, the invader, have gotten close to the host, and it just starts going dun 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 dun, and it can be very obnoxious. And also, too, it kind of kills any stealth that you. It's like, okay, well, he fucking knows I'm here now because he can hear the goddamn music. So,
Well,
like,
do you know for sure that the host gets that too?
I don't know that for sure,
Because if not, it might be okay.
but I would think that it does. I need to. Here's the thing: I've never been fucking invaded in that game.
I know, right?
It's not ever gonna happen to me because I only do the opposite, right? Like I only invade. I rarely ever summon phantoms, and when I do, it's not long enough for someone to invade me because nobody's invading. Um, but that being said, the best invasion point for the onion specifically, with that huge two-handed great sword and a decent amount of poise, a medium roll, a good amount of resistances all around. I got the medallion that um, increases my equipment load. I got one of the medallions that gives me a bunch of stats. I got the one that gives me a bunch of stats, but also makes me take more damage. And I got the one that gives me an ass load more health. Um, I think in the DLC you get the +3 version of that one, so I got that one too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used the turtle shield to give me extra stamina because swinging that big sword takes a lot of freaking stamina.
Takes a lot
And
out of you.
and then my physic I typically use the extra stance break and the extra stamina regen. So I can swing, full swing, and if three people are holding small shields, they're all gonna break their stance at the same time,
Yeah.
right? And that's one of the reasons why I switched to that great sword because it's really good for fighting 3v1. I can hit all three of you at once, and especially when I first get there, typically I can get at least one hit off like that, and then focus on one person to kill him, right? And if it's not the host, and I kill one of their phantoms, then I can back off and heal and come back and try to kill another phantom or kill both of them. But the best point right now is at the specimen storehouse just before Mesmer because it's a little fucking room. It's a tiny little room that there's like a 50% chance that if I full swing my greatsword, I'm gonna fucking hit you because it's such a small room. And another thing I love about that sword too is you could be right up against the wall and swing through it. Still, like it's very rare that I think it's when when you're close enough to something or something that
I think
sticks
it's when
out,
the hilt
or
hits,
when the hilt hits. Yeah, but so it's basically like typically
which was only the
invasions.
case, by the way. That was only the case with, I believe, charged R2s in Dark Souls 3. Your R1s could hit the walls and bounce off pretty easily. So
Yeah,
it made those a lot more impractical. So they're a lot better, and I think that's just true of Elden Ring in general, but definitely
yeah,
for tiny rooms.
but yeah, but so it's really good because you have a like you have the bottom section, which is kind of a small room with a big door. Typically, you'll be fighting from there up the stairs to the other small room right before the boss room. Which, of course, when you invade in those areas, the percentage of um, the host has entered an area boss battle increases to like 80%.
Sure,
So
because
you
it's a
do
pretty
get you
short
do get a
run.
lot. Yeah, you get a lot of as soon as you come in, they leave, and sometimes they're right in front of you because there are two places where in that from invading from that section, from that point of grace, there are two places that you can start at. You can either start right at the point of grace outside the boss room, which then typically the guys you'll basically just appear right next to the host and their phantoms. And if they want to fight, they'll fight. If not, they walk into the boss room. But if they walk into the boss room, sometimes I still get to fucking whack the phantoms. Sometimes I get to kill a phantom before the fuckers start the boss battle. And I
Yeah,
know
buddy.
that I just ruined your shit because now you're gonna die to the boss because
That's
you
right.
summoned two phantoms, one just died, or both just took half health, or I just removed all of your fucking shields. So now you got to reapply that shit or whatever. Um,
And the people that summon multiple player phantoms for bosses, it's because they need those phantoms for
mhm.
bosses. So yeah, you completely wrecked that run. They're gonna have to
But
do another one.
there's still a good amount too of those that end up being gank squads.
Sure.
Because and so it's kind of a double-edged sword, pun fully intended. Um, because I can swing and hit everybody in that room, but if two of the phantoms that this person summons, one of them's doing the fucking dragon head thing, and one's got those flippy floppy magical bullshit flying all over the fucking place, the spam is so bad that I can't see anything. And I don't know what's going on. And it's just okay. I'm just gonna keep mashing R1 and R2 until something happens. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it definitely doesn't. Sometimes I just get stun locked into oblivion, which I changed. I think at the end there because I was really trying to get at least 100 arcs farmed. I switched back to the Knight of Solitude armor because I could still get the medium roll, but I have like 96 poise instead of like 83 or something like that. So like I have a better
Nice.
chance of swinging through shit. But then I'm not the onion, so I don't know how I feel about that.
As long as you
And
got the onion hat.
Lionel does have. Well, no, I wasn't using the onion hat, but yeah, the Lionel set does have like high fire. I think it's at the highest fire resistance of any set in the game. So there's still that. Like
Mm.
it's, but it's not as much poise as like the salt. And I feel like the Knight of Solitude is basically Havel's
Mm.
set because it's super poise. Like I said, it's like 93, 96, something ridiculous like that.
Big
Um,
boys for big boys.
yeah, but coming in with that sword and it's still so there's still a couple more things. One, AFK hosts, especially if they summon phantoms, then it's really funny because like the host, if they're both AFK, even great. Like I'll kill like two just instantly. But if one of them's AFK, then the phantom's like trying to fight you, and you kill the host, you kill the phantom or whatever. Typically, it's really hard to lose that fight. Um, and then the other thing too is there's a glitch in the system where, and I've had this happen many times. I would say it's rare. It's rarer, but it's not super rare. And that is that you'll end up. I feel like for every 1 out of 10 ones where the boss where they would have entered the area boss and kicked you out, it doesn't kick you out, or you end up in there like it's at the same time that they're fighting the boss and it doesn't kick you out. So literally you're sitting outside of the boss fog. You can't go in. You can't do anything except watch them fight the boss through the boss fog. You can't actually see them, but you can see their health bars. And if Mesmer gets to the second phase, then you can see his health bar.
Ah.
So because then he'll be at half health, and then it will show up, and then you can see it. And I would say it's like a 50-50 chance that they're just gonna die, and you're gonna get a free arc and a bunch of more souls from their phantoms.
Well, sure.
So, but one of the things that was I had that happen earlier today, and it was the saddest thing ever, dude. Like I've had it happen to me bad before, but sometimes if it gets the second, the second phase, and they're like halfway through the second phase, I'll just leave because I'm like, this is not worth my time. They're gonna beat it, because they're pros. But this one time, I decided to stay. All the phantoms. It was a full. He might. I don't think he had. So he had two phantoms, and it was him, and the host themselves. They were fighting the boss this entire time, doing really well. None of them were dying. And then in the second phase, the very end, the boss's health was not detectable. I saw no red. He had maybe one hit point, 10 hit points.
Magic pixel.
Yeah, the magic pixel, and his phantoms had not, like, they've been taking damage, but they never got like really super low, and then they all just got fucking murked. And I was like,
That's great.
That sucks for you so bad.
You know what else would be really fun to test though? Is because obviously in those invasions, you're not supposed to be in the host game anymore. So I wonder if even if they beat Mesmer, if the game would know to kick you out before disabling the fog wall, because the fog wall goes away pretty fast.
No,
in this game.
Yes, but it kicks you out. I've never.
No,
I've never, at least. It hasn't happened too many times. I want to say out of the hundreds of invasions that I've done in the DLC, it's only been like a few times where they actually, like, they defeat the boss, and it just kicks you out. Like you do see the fog wall go away as you're being kicked out, but I haven't. It hasn't glitched, at least not yet, to the point where I would be right after the boss be able to just run in and start attacking him.
If that ever happened, that would be gold.
Yeah, because they would have no phantoms. The phantoms would be gone, and but I think there might be something in the code, because not only does it get rid of the invader, but it gets rid of your summoned phantoms as well, right? So
yeah, it probably just banishes
just
everything at the same time.
And then if it didn't somehow banish them, then I think everything would still be there. But they would also be a little low probably on Estus. I mean, what the fuck are they called?
Just a little bit
in Elden Ring.
Flask of Crimson Tears.
Yes, I think. Jesus, that's some Game of Thrones bullshit.
And Flask of Cerulean Tears is the FP one.
Yes.
But it's freaking Estus. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Estus. Just like Souls are Souls, Estus is Estus. Yeah. I call every single the reason when you asked me what a Site of Grace was, and I had to think about it, because every time I'm playing the game, I'm like, where's the bonfire?
Yeah, it's a bonfire.
It is a bonfire. I'm sorry.
It's not even a bell. What are they called? The lantern. The lantern was from Bloodborne, and that was the game we both started with, I think, as far as Souls games are concerned. We both started with Bloodborne. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's true.
And we don't fucking call them lanterns. We call them bonfires.
No, we still call them freaking bonfires, because it's the sheer number of games. Because all of these games that call it something different, they get one game. Yeah, with Demons and Dark Souls combined, that was 4 games. That's a lot of repetition. It's a lot of learning.
Yeah, it's true. But
that's kind of funny, actually, because I did start with Bloodborne. I'd never even heard of really the series before that. Bloodborne was on my radar because it got like horror talk, and
Lovecraftian.
I'm a big horror guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of it, but
that was literally my first episode with the show was horror related. So I played that, and then it was because I loved Bloodborne. I was like, okay, let me check out this Dark Souls stuff, and then do the others. But yeah,
so I think as far as this episode is concerned, I think the biggest takeaways are: 1,
invasions suck.
2, summon all the phantoms you want. Play the fucking game. Use the Shadow Tree fragments or the ashes or whatever. Just do it. Have fun. Play the fucking game. I'm still going to try to ruin your fucking day. I'm still going to try to show up. I am successful 5 to 10% of the time. It's so bad.
that still conforms to the rule. Play the game the way you want to play it. That's how you
Yeah.
want to play it, so play it that way.
Yeah, and it's bad though. I need to, because I need to. I don't know. I'm addicted to PvP. That's the bottom line. And I'm still gonna do it. It's like, even though I know you've done invasions in all the other games, you were like, I'm not doing it in this one. I mean, you did it,
No.
the trial thing, but you're like, no, I'm not gonna do it in this game. But
Yeah.
I just have to, like, someone's got to keep the torch alive. I've only met like 3 other invaders tops in my entire time in the DLC, and I know it's only been a few weeks. But like I said, if and it doesn't seem right to me, but like, if 100 arcs equals, if it takes 10 invasions for each arc, that's 1,000 invasions. But I'm counting the ones that don't really count as one, where like you just literally you spawn in just in time for it to say they started an area boss. Or my favorite is when I spawn in, I drink my flask, and then I disappear because it started an area boss, and it looks like I drank some teleportation or invisibility potion. It's like, and I just vanish.
That's hilarious.
God damn it! Fuck.
My one hope, because I do have a little bit of hope, is because at least from our days in Dark Souls 3 PvP, which that's where I spent the majority of my time PvP in the series. Bloodborne, I actually
me
did.
too. I did a lot in Dark Souls 2. We did it. We both did it in Dark Souls remastered, and I tried.
But DSR died real fast.
Yeah. Was that? Oh yeah, yeah, it did die real fast. Yeah. But the Black Knight sword and shit like that, though. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But and the that, what was that spell? The black like orbs. It's like,
yeah.
death.
It's usually called Pursuers, but I don't remember
But
if it was called that in one or not.
I don't remember what it was called, but I did do,
I think it's Pursuers,
like, a few invasions in Bloodborne, and no, it was terrible. Like, you come in to fight one dude, and you're both just fucking stabbing yourself with your EpiPen like a million times, and it takes like 10 fucking minutes.
It takes
to
a
get
long
someone.
time.
Like, it's so bad. Like, 10 doesn't sound like a lot, but it feels like an hour. Like, it's so bad.
But here's the thing too, it's 10 minutes at the pace that Bloodborne moves, which is very fast.
Yes, so that's why it feels like an hour. But
yeah.
But invasions, the state of invasions in Elden Ring weren't great. DLC made them not much better. I will say this though, in the DLC, in the areas that I've mentioned, namely like Belarot Tower and Specimen Storehouse, hotbed. You're not gonna, like, you're always gonna end up invading someone's world, whether it's successful one way or the other or not. It's instant. There's no waiting, which is nice. That's nice. That sort of like makes it not hurt as bad, because even though 1 in 10, I mean, I'm being generous here, 1 in 10 invasions is one where I get an arc from one way or another. It goes really fast. Except when, like, before the show, and I was like, I need to make it to 100. I only need 10 more. And then I started doing it, and when I got to 430, I was like, wait, I needed 20? Fuck.
So here's my one hope, though, because I do have one thing that I'm hopeful for with Invasions, which is when I went back to talking about Dark 3, my point was to say you and I both did a lot of PvP in that game.
Yes.
And we met and we talked to a lot of people that PvP'd in that game. We both created YouTube content based around PvP in that game. And a lot of invaders in Dark Souls 3,
Raging Red Onion and Erebus,
only really played the game for invasions. You know, like, I was someone who played the game because I was going to play the game, and then I got hooked on invasions.
Shout out to Landman. Shout out to Lost My Sanity.
yeah, all the boys. You know, but at a certain point, like, a lot of people were only playing the game for the PvP, and that's not going to happen for Elden Ring in current state.
No,
but they're going to know that, and they're going to care, which means either hopefully they're going to rebalance some shit, or at the very least, the next game I don't think is going to dunk on invaders this hard, because people that play the games for the PvP aren't going to come back.
Like Sekiro, though, oh my god, an amazing game. No PvP, but also no co-op, right?
Yeah.
Apart from couch co-op, I will say this, but don't tell me. She didn't listen to this show. Don't tell anybody. But I beat out for Heather. Don't tell. Don't tell. It's
I'm gonna
okay.
tell her.
She would have beaten him, but she was just got really frustrated with it, and I understand that. And she beat the shit out of the monk in the fountain uh palace. So like
Mm.
better than I did. I cheesed the monk. But there's no cheesing the final boss, so I'm interested in to see what happens when she gets there. But
Talk
I
about some
feel
fucking difficulty.
yeah.
That's a
I
boss that'll
so
push your shit in for
yeah,
a
yeah,
week.
yeah, yeah. So like yeah, exactly. So like what y'all fucking Shadow of the Erdtree players complaining about the difficulty, play Sekiro and get back to me. Like I'm not trying to be a dick and say get good. I mean I am. But I'm also not wrong. So
See, it's saying get good in a nicer way
yeah,
because
exactly.
it's more like get context.
Yeah, there's a context to it, and both of us have experienced all the other games except I think again to point out my faults. One, I never played the Bloodborne DLC, and I never actually played Demon Soul. Well, I never beat Demon Souls. I did play the original for like 15 minutes before any other game and said fuck this bullshit.
Sounds
And obviously that needs to be
about right.
revisited because I played all the other ones and it's like I know it's going to be hard at this point. It should be, but I know it's going to be worth it. I guess so too. But I think this has been the first installment of Shadow of the Nerdtree, and I'm actually really excited because we have a lot more content I think to get through now because we just basically talked about like one and a half things, and it's been an entire
Yeah, there's
episode.
a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about. I want to come back with more about the lore, about the bosses, about it, about people's experiences, because it's I think it's time. I've never really Dark Souls, the Souls series, we've touched on it in Strength and Gaming here and there, but we never really focused on it all that much because it is a little bit of some of the untouchableness of like the reason why I'm not allowed to talk about Eve on the show, or why I stopped talking about Diablo on the show, because it's similar. But I feel like now there are conversations to be had that are entertaining, and if they're not, fuck you. I just want to talk about this shit.
Yeah, and they're relevant because it's a new game, so piss off.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's definitely and I Shadow of the Nerdtree, man. Like that's Shadow of the Erdtree, Skidoo tree fragments,
Skidoo.
Shadow tree
Skadoosh.
fragments, Skadoosh. But thank you, motherfucking nerds, for listening to this episode, and I look forward to the next Elden Ring episode that we do. Have a good night, everybody.
Latest.